Fly Good morning. My name is Ted Lewis. I'm president of St. Mary's. And I'd like to ask you to stand, please. Reverend Father Frank Kraskell, our neighbor in St. Mary's City, will now give the invocation. Father Kraskell. Let us pray. Almighty God, you know our needs and desires. Bless, we pray, our new beginnings. Watch over those who wonder and learn and grow in understanding. Purify our motives and purposes. Bless this college, its professors, students, administrators, and benefactors. Make its life prosper in and for this community. Grant its graduates a readiness to support the right as they see the right, and the satisfaction of usefulness in the world which you have made. Endow all who participate in these exercises of commencement with the certain truth that to begin is to live, and to live is to know you, and so knowing, to love as indeed you love all. Amen. Please sit. Thank you, Father Kraskell. A number of us have been praying this morning, and so far our prayers have been answered. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you here today. Today's commencement is especially important to the college and to two special professors who are retiring after long years of service. Professor Harmon Haynes could not be here today, but Professor John Hirschfield is, and I will ask Professor Hirschfield to stand. We're really extraordinarily important today to have with us the Honorable Sharon Pratt Kelly, who is going to deliver the commencement address. We asked Mayor Kelly to do this several months ago, and at that time she did not have as many things on her agenda as she now has today. As you know, there is a conference of U.S. mayors focusing on our efforts to save the cities, a terribly important conference, and Mayor Kelly will, as a result, be leading immediately following the addresses of the valedictorian and the class president. I know you join me in expressing your appreciation for what she has done by coming today. It is a very difficult and trying day for her. Now I would like to introduce to you the chairman of the board, a very good friend of mine, Edward O. Clark, Jr. Mr. Clark.
Good morning. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I welcome you all to St. Mary's College this morning. Unfortunately, the need to move forward with the program makes it impossible to say the many things to all of you that the Board of Trustees would really like to say. Many firsts have come to this college in just the last year. First, we thank both the governor and the legislative body of the state for expressing their support and confidence in this institution from a fiscal dimension, and also by designating this college a Maryland Honors College. We thank the president and faculty for the extraordinary effort it has taken to bring this I believe, largest class to graduation, and thank most particularly the members of that class for their extraordinary academic performance. Also, thanks are in order for the family and the supporters of this college for helping us all to try and make it the very special and wonderful place that it is, a place that you can sense while you are here, and we hope carry with you when you leave. Thank you very much.
I would now like to introduce the Provost, Dr. Melvin Endy, who will bring forward our distinguished guest speaker, Mayor Kelly. Dr. Endy.
President Lewis, members of the Board of Trustees, faculty, students, staff, assembled family and friends. It is my very great pleasure to introduce to you this morning Sharon Pratt Kelly, Mayor of the District of Columbia. Being mayor of a major city in the United States in the 1990s must be surely one of the hardest jobs in the land. Being mayor of the city that holds the spotlight in the country and that houses and is hampered by the Congress may be the toughest job in the land. In an upset victory just 18 months ago, Mayor Kelly was elected on a platform that promised good government, honest government, compassionate government. She stressed the broom that would sweep clean, and in the past year and a half, we have been watching with admiration and hope the start of a thorough house cleaning and revitalization in the District of Columbia. We have watched the creation of economic and social programs that can bring new light to burned-out lives and serve as a beacon throughout the nation, a beacon of hope and determination. It is my great honor to present to you her honor, the Mayor of Washington, D.C., Sharon Pratt Kelly.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. President Lewis, members of the Board of Trustees, a great Washingtonian, a good friend, Ben Bradley. Distinguished members of the faculty, Ms. Danielle Troyan, Mr. Howard Hurd, many proud parents, family members, friends who are all here filled with pride and affection. But above all, I bring greetings to each and every member of the distinguished class of 1992. Wonderful spring day. I believe I speak for all who are gathered here to say how proud we are of your many accomplishments. You are the best, and you are graduating from one of the best small colleges in America. You've been together for a very long time. 4 years is a very long time. So you are in many ways family to each other. Your lives have been intense, full, intellectual, and active. Occasionally, you've actually had some fun. Occasionally. You've danced together, cried together, studied together, and demonstrated with absolute certainty that good nutrition has little or nothing to do with learning and education. Yet, despite every trauma and problem, you are about to graduate, and you have truly succeeded. Now, I know something about the pressures of success. I am by profession a lawyer. It's dangerous to mention that. My father urged me to become a lawyer, though he truly and tries very hard to deny it. But I don't know what conclusion you could reach when on your 16th birthday, your father presents you with Black's Law Dictionary. So I got the point. I became a lawyer, later a professor of law, an executive in the corporate community, and now, because of the confidence of the people of my hometown, I am the mayor of Washington, D.C. I guess you could say, by many people's definition, I have achieved. I have played by America's rules and seemingly succeeded. Yet here we are on this spring day, so far away from the world of South Central Los Angeles. And I would be remiss if I did not tell you that on this wonderful day, even full with all of the enthusiasm of all of this wonderful class of 92, I would be remiss if I did not tell you in good conscience that I am troubled. I am troubled as the mayor of a very large city. I'm troubled as a woman in the 1990s. I'm troubled as someone who comes from the African American community, but above all, I am troubled as a citizen of this great country, this country I love so much. So today, I ask for your indulgence for just a little bit, so that I can speak honestly and truthfully to you about some clear and inevitable truths that I think we've got to deal with. To put aside remarks that may be more in keeping with this festive occasion, and instead to speak to you as honestly as I know how about these recent events and what it portends for this America that you and I love so much. For the only way to spare our great country the pain and the anguish that we see ensuing and did ensue in those weeks is to speak clearly now. To speak with integrity now is to speak about the troubles that beset America, the inescapable problems associated with economic circumstance, associated with race, and associated with gender. To do otherwise simply means that the failures of my generation then will get passed on to your generation, and in so doing, deny the cause that is America. Now, I will tell you from my own personal experience. When the verdict did come down in that trial of Rodney King, I would be dishonest if I didn't tell you that my whole body went numb. A numbness that wasn't so much out of anger, but all I could think of was how could it be here in 1992, how could it be that a verdict of this kind be rendered? How could it be that every image and feeling that I knew as a child, because I grew up at a time before there was a 54 decision and the 60s movement, all of that came flooding back into my consciousness. And here I was again, thinking about life in America and the world I knew as a child. How could it be in this great moment of national tragedy? How could it be when moral leadership was of the highest order that we needed it in the most urgent kind of way? When America cried out for bold, strong leadership, how could it be that almost none of our national leaders were stepping up to the occasion? Instead, too many of them just putting their hands up in the air, trying to figure out which way the political winds were blowing. How could it be that they could be engaged in strategy sessions, only offering coded messages about each other's programs and each other's political platforms, such as who enacted what program back in the 1960s? So here I am, someone who has played by America's rules and seemingly succeeded. Yet, in the last 10 days, I must tell you I have been reminded in a most visceral kind of way that my citizenship is still very much in question, that my contribution to this nation I love could somehow be viewed as of less value because of my gender or because of my race. Now, these intense feelings were not mine alone. They were feelings experienced and shared by millions of Americans all across this nation. Hard-working Americans felt the same awful, wrenching feeling that America may be going in the wrong direction. Well, this image is a painful truth and a painful image that many of us have seen many times Some would say it is a veritable piece of Americana. So I am sad today for what that bespoke about my country. For I come from a community that has always loved America, always believed in America, believed in the American dream even when it was denied us. Some people don't appreciate that those of us who come from my community were here a year before the Pilgrims even arrived. And we have always been faithful to the American dream, even, as I said, when that dream was denied us. We have served for her, led for her, loved her, defended her, tried to make her great, even when the dream was denied us. So, for we who have been in this country better than 400 years, we who have been here, as I said, even 1 year before the first pilgrim set foot on Plymouth Rock, a longing at last to be a part of the true mainstream of American life. We have been here and served even starting with the American Revolution. The very first person to die was a man named Crispus Attucks, an African American. We have served in every war of this country in unprecedented numbers through Vietnam and as recently as the Persian Gulf. All we want is to finally get a foothold in that great experience, that great story called the American dream. And whenever we finally have that chance, we move with an enthusiasm, an energy, a commitment that speaks of our love and affection for this country. We finally got our foothold in the political arena in 1965, and look at the enthusiasm with which we approached it. We have moved with an energy and resolve unparalleled in American history, such that there is now one among us who serves as the governor of Virginia, the great Old Dominion. There's one among us who now serves as the chairman of one of the only two major political parties in all of the United States of America, the oldest political party, the Democratic Party. There may be soon a woman coming from the state of Illinois who soon will be serving in the United States Senate, and in almost every major American city, be it New York, be it Los Angeles, be it Detroit, be it Baltimore, be it Washington, D.C., there's now one among us who serves as its mayor. There has been no story like that story of those of us who've moved with enthusiasm to be a part of the American dream. So, for many of us, that Rodney King verdict was a cruel reminder that even with all the extraordinary progress of the last 30 years, it could be that those efforts could be at risk and stand be in vain, that what we have achieved could be negated. And this feeling of suddenly moving in the wrong direction was a feeling, as I stated, felt by a great many Americans. For the overwhelming majority of Americans believe in a fairness that knows no color, and an equality that knows no economic class, and in a justice that is indeed true, indeed free from every prejudice and any tainted bias. The reality that so many Americans feel this is a testimony to what we have achieved and the progress we have made in the last many years. And this commitment must be acknowledged and must be upheld. For we were all shocked now by the looting and the violence that occurred thereafter, and the killing of any American because of their skin color or ethnic background, be it African American, be it Korean American, be it Hispanic American, be it white American, must be seen for what it is. It is morally repugnant and must be condemned. For prejudice of any kind, be it white prejudice or black prejudice, it doesn't matter, is an evil that denies all that we acknowledge to be of value in this great democracy. For no justice is achieved, no scales are made even, and no excuse can be made for racial hatred that denigrates the ideal of equality that bespeaks and defines who we are as a people, as a nation. But even in our shock and concern, we see just how difficult it is to change our mindsets. Well, in the immediate aftermath of the rioting, nothing could have been more astonishing to me, more truly disturbing, than to hear our president, who I believe truly is a decent man, but his press secretary blame all of what occurred on programs that existed some 30 years ago and have not been in existence for a long time. I was astonished. Well, how could it be, facing this challenge, when moral leadership is what is most needed now, that such a statement could be made? It is ill-advised, for it's like pouring gasoline on an already burning house. At best, it was thoughtless and out of touch, and it clearly was an incendiary act that is designed, or clearly would have the effect of fueling a political backlash that would be such a disservice to our country. It would set our country back many years. Mr. President, such actions have no place in our national dialogue, and I urge you to open your eyes to what is happening. I'm urging you to recognize the magnitude of what has occurred. 58 Americans are dead, Mr. President, 58. Anger and sadness fills the land, and there is a whole generation emerging among us of young people who are growing up cynical and violent. We must go another way, Mr. President. There is another way. Here we are in 1992, so elated that at last there is an end to the old USSR. And yet, we have growing by leaps and bounds in our own backyard right here in America, a force that in many ways is far more threatening to America than anything ever offered by the old USSR, a force that I fear that could bring America to her knees. Yesterday I visited with Mikhail Gorbachev, and I'm telling you, all I could think about is, here is a man, Gorbachev and Yeltsin, dissolved the entire Soviet empire. They even fought off a counter-revolution. And you know, they lost fewer lives than we lost last few weeks in Los Angeles. Doesn't that tell you something about the trouble that is within our land, the trouble that besets our nation? Yet hardly a voice has been heard regarding this real and debilitating threat. Hardly a voice has been heard addressing the underlying causes or appealing to the basic decency of the American people. Well, we're not a thoughtless people. We know something is wrong. So, given these many feelings and the trauma of the recent events, it's not surprising to me, class of 92, that while you're feeling a great sense of personal achievement on this day, your feelings may be quite mixed. But I want you to be optimistic. I want you to think of America for what she is. America is a beautiful country, unequaled in the world, where people from every part of the world came to our great nation because of the promise she offered, and that's part of our strength. We have a little slice of all the world right here in America. What we've got to do is tap into that strength and use it to our great advantage. Yet somehow, it's difficult in this environment to always remain optimistic about the ideal of America, given the harsh reality of despair and discord that we know exists within the land. How do you remain optimistic about the progress of America when everyone seems to be struggling economically in the 90s? It's one thing to be optimistic, to believe that a rising tide lifts all boats. It's something else, however, to realize that there is no tide coming, and most of us may feel stranded on the flats. So America today is a different time and a different place than where she was some years ago when these great issues were fully engaged. Yet then, we had a president who in my opinion was the consummate American, because he believed in the strength and the power of our country. He believed that we were unstoppable despite every challenge. He believed anything was possible. And Jack Kennedy told us we could go to the moon. Why? Because we were Americans. Our economy then was robust. A strong tide of economic growth seemed assured. We were a great power, and everything could be done, we thought, to end poverty and to advance civil rights. All of it could be done, and that was our belief. Much has been done, but even now, we understand things a little differently. Now, it doesn't take a national expert or even a rocket scientist to tell us that our hopes have not been fully realized yet. Yet, in spite of today's deep divisions, the despair and the discord that confronts us sometimes, I'm unwilling to give up my belief that progress can be made. For after all, we are Americans. But progress can only come if we recognize where we are and what our state and condition is today. If we're willing to come to terms with some painful truths, we're able to do it. We got the strength to do it. First, that there is a desperate need for new language about where we are in America. How can we coexist together? How can you tell you, and how can we not make real progress unless we remove from our political lexicon such code words such as crime and sometimes welfare from our vocabulary? We must stop using gender politics, ethnic politics, racial politics for the short-term political advantage of one person, but at the everlasting disadvantage of America. There's a great temptation, but everybody sort of feels themselves up against the wall economically. When you know that your country's future, to some extent, seems mortgaged, which happened in corporate America, happened in our federal government, state and local government. Everybody was about the short-term gain, which is all that happened, sadly, in the 80s. And so the temptation now is just to pit the poor against the struggling, the insecure against the marginal, the frightened against other Americans who are just as scared that they are also being left out of the American dream. So how can we go about moving America forward? Well, I tell you, we can have none of these kinds of tensions. We can't promote that. We cannot abide by it or tolerate the diminishment of the American ideal. For the American that is our home is an America free from pet prejudice and racial bigotry. A second great truth. We must recognize that too often we simply talk past one another. Too often, for example, when we hear Americans, let's say white Americans, speak about the fear of crime, they're dismissed as conservative reactionaries. For the truth be told, I come from a community that fears crime every day. It has nothing to do with race. Whole neighborhoods in my city are struggling each and every day. Every day with this dynamic of crime, drugs, and violence. But it's also true that too often many members of my own community, the African American community, have lived by a code of silence. We have allowed too often this counterculture of crime and drugs to seize parts of our community without a real solid struggle. We have allowed ourselves to be defined by the most troublesome element in our community. Too often the media has defined us that way, and we've bought into it. For sometimes in our support of racial solidarity, which is understandable given our experience, but is not acceptable, we have been unwilling to challenge as boldly as we should the counterculture that rejects our own standards of behavior. We would not have had the success stories that we've had in the last 30 years had we not been a community that believed in excellence, a community that had such standards. It's that the leadership and community have too often been intimidated about not speaking out for fear that they are perceived as sellouts or people who have turned on their own. Hundreds of thousands of African Americans have made it into the middle class in the last 2 decades. That's the real story. More have become a part of America's mainstream. Yet we are painfully aware that even though we may live in the suburbs, some of us may go to Club Med, we are still defined by the most troublesome elements in urban America. So we are reluctant sometimes to break ranks. So in this new time, when we're trying to search for what is the truth and what is morally right for this country, we must have the courage to speak the truth to each other and to speak out. Speak up and speak boldly in defense of our own standards. We must come together to fight a hopelessness summed up by the belief that you can only be a man if you use a gun, that you can only gain respect by working the streets, and that there's something all right and okay about a young lady having a baby at the age of 11 or 12. Now, having said this, let me tell you something else. Too often, other Americans who are not African Americans are unaware of just how deeply the taint of racial bias is still woven into the fabric of our society. Almost all Americans believe in principle with all our hearts in equality. We believe it. We say it. Our civil rights laws tell us we believe it. It's on the books. The case is closed. But it's all still there in the abstract. We're for equality. But when we are actually confronted with it, we sometimes have difficulty. We're not so certain that we support affirmative action. Yet the progress that women have made in the last 30 years, the progress that African Americans have made in the last 30 years, the progress that allows America to be strong, vibrant, and a contributing country has primarily resulted from affirmative action. Indeed, the sole reason our gender is even represented at the table of power now and in the workplace anywhere is because of affirmative action. My point then is a simple one. We have not yet achieved a real consensus on the specifics of how that equality will ultimately be achieved. We haven't figured out all of the details for moving the ideal of equality forward so that we can truly make it a great reality. We're still overwhelmed trying to make ends meet, and that we don't always speak to one another as clearly about such points. And so our points of division become much too significant instead of seeing our strength is in our diversity. Now I will say quite clearly that the consensus of which I speak will not come about simply because a president or mayor says it ought to happen. Indeed, in the long history that is America, one thing is absolutely certain. Political leaders more often validate what the American people have already decided. So it is your task of Class of '92, it's your task to lead. And your initiative is what will make it happen, more so than my generation. Because you've grown up at a time when your perspective on opportunity for women and minorities has been a part of the daily thinking in American life. So probably you more than my generation have the capacity to make good on this reality. You can make it so. But let me suggest a note of caution. For our ability to forge ahead together isn't going to be easy in this new economic landscape that is reshaping our country. It isn't easy now when so many Americans think that they're sitting in economic mudflats. But what alarms me most as we approach the threshold of the 21st century is the beginning of a new rigid class in this country, unheard of at any time in the American history. A growing counterculture of anger, alienation, and violence. But what I see emerging is a new economic landscape, a landscape where there is less and less opportunity for upward mobility, to be a part of the American dream. The economic landscape of which I speak is dominated by folks such as yourself, which is beautiful. A rising intellectual class, millions of Americans, regardless of whatever their circumstances, who are rapidly moving into this new knowledge-based 21st century economy. You will be the winners. But behind you, in the middle and struggling a smaller and smaller group of Americans, steel workers, auto workers, working class Americans, traditionally the backbone of this country, trying to hold on to what they have, who know that even as they hang on, their children may not be able to enjoy the American dream. And at the bottom, there are those millions of Americans who never had the opportunity to make it even in the old economic landscape. And out on the margins are those who left out and left behind. But off on the side, as we see in city after city, now suburb after suburb, an emerging, dynamic, unheard of in this country, an emerging counterculture, separate from the economic mainstream, totally divorced from the values that you and I cherish, folks who have a feel and a sense of futility, anger, and hopelessness. We are fast creating an economic system with levels of stratification so staggering that many Americans no longer believe that the promise of America will happen in their lifetime. So my concern today is not that you'll succeed, you will succeed. That's not my concern today. My concern is something different, that in the pressure to succeed, in the struggle to make it up the economic ladder, you'll just say, look, I check out of America. I retreat to my own personal pursuits and private deliberations. And you'll say to yourself, that's all I can do. That's all I can do just to survive. I will practice my profession, I'll pay my taxes, and I'll write off the belief that this is a nation where we can all move forward together, that this America really has the capacity to live up to all of our magnificent ideals. But if you do that, if you retreat to your own private sphere, who then will save America from herself? Who will build the new consensus needed to coexist together? And who will take the lead to make the personal investment to save the least of these, but above all, to save America and allow her to be the strong, prospering nation she was meant to be? Because if we've learned anything about ourselves in the last decade, please listen to me now. If there's anything my generation ought to pass on to yours, is what we learned, and the lessons we learned were the wrong lessons of the last decade. That if you think of success in the narrowest of terms, it is absolutely destructive to the larger good. That's what happened in the 80s. Success came to mean more than wealth, power, and status. That's all it got, I guess it meant. Somewhere along the way, there was a loss of moral content, the diminishment of the public estate, and with it, a diminishment of what it means to be full and achieving individuals. Success came to mean the power of making an easy dollar, even if you didn't produce anything qualitative or tangible. It came to mean a style and an attitude rather than something tangible. Success had more to do with what you wore than what you cared about, what car you drove rather than who you helped. That success became what you craved rather than what you created. The 1980s version of success was a brand new kind of capitalism, the most vulgar kind that had a strange mix between the lifestyles of the rich and famous and New Jack City, an attitude of unbridled gratification that infected every segment of our society, high and low, and I do mean high and low. For there was little difference, in my opinion, between the ethic of the inside trader on Wall Street and the drug dealer in Washington, D.C. I guess the only difference is that one sported a golden parachute, the other one sports a gold chain. So the consummate travesty of the last decade is that we did not stop and think about who we are and who we were becoming as a people. And we paid a handsome price for deceiving ourselves. So we must return to great American values. We must return to those values that have always allowed this country to beat the odds. We have always been the citadel of greatness, the citadel of capitalism in its finest form, because we have always found a way to get back to our values. For the real power of America is our strength and our hope, especially now emerging in this new economic order. It is our willingness to let everyone come here in our country and to tap into that great diversity to the collective advantage of America. That's the American way, and it is the only way we'll prosper in this great big global society and global marketplace. We've got to get back to those values. We used to have the capacity to do great things. We were the flower of the industrial world. Why? Because we were a nation of individuals, and that individualistic spirit allowed us to create all of the great inventions of the last decade, from the wireless to the light bulb to the telephone to the automobile to the airplane. It all originated here in America. And then, because we had the grandest public school system of any place in the world, we were able to replicate that creativity and export it to the world. We were a nation that believed in the future. We were a nation that believed in research and development. We were a nation that believed in the future. And so each generation believed in saving. And so we had the capacity to build new businesses because we had the capacity for capital formation. We were a nation that believed in the future, so each generation gladly sacrificed so that the next generation might do better. Let it be your legacy to recapture the real values of America. Do not let it be your legacy to make the mistakes that were made by my generation. Bring America home to her values. Make America great again together. Bring America home to her values. Help to make America true to her ideals. Class of 1992, we pass the torch to you, and we urge you to bring America back to the values that made her strong. Rekindle the American spirit. For when you bring her home to her values, you make her true to what she's about. You restore her glory. You restore her might, and you restore her majesty. So I want you to all say it with truth and conviction. God bless America, for this is our home. She is ours, and we are hers. God bless you, class.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly, for a great gift to the class of 92 and to all of us here. Will the provost of the college and the chairman of the board of trustees please bring forward the citation, hood, and medallion.
Sharon Kraft Kelly, St. Mary's College is proud to have numbered you among its trustees, delighted that you continue as an advisor on its President's Council, and is grateful that you are here today to speak so eloquently to the graduating class. Since your own student days, you have directed your passion and purpose to advocate for the economically disenfranchised who live in the very heart of this wealthy nation. We admire the concrete programs you are now putting into place for health care, health counseling, and education. We salute your determination to forge a partnership between the district government and private business, the financial strategy that will bring jobs back to Washington and give new life to exhausted neighborhoods and new hope to the land. We think it one of the best uses of liberal education to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves, to ensure that they receive what is their just due. For all our new graduates, we wish the same vision, the same excitement, and the same feisty spirit that says, yes, we will. Sharon Pratt Kelly, welcome back to St. Mary's, and thank you for being with us today and inspiring us.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I am pleased to admit you to the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, all rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations. Dr. Andy, would you please introduce the valedictorian of the class of 1992?
The valedictorian of the class of 1992 is a graduate of Forestville High School in Suitland, Maryland, where he became a Maryland Distinguished Scholar and won a scholarship from Carl Rowan's Project Excellence. During his 4 years at St. Mary's, he alone has had a 4.0 straight A average. In achieving that distinguished academic record, Howard majored in economics. But Hurd was no nerd. As a junior, he served on the residence life staff and as a resident assistant, and during his senior year was a residence hall coordinator with responsibility for 150 students. He also heard the call of the stage and performed in the theater program, most notably in this year's production of The Colored Museum, and he joined the Forensic Society in his junior year. By the end of his senior year, he had won 113 trophies for forensics competition, and in the national tournament in St. Louis this year, with Janelle Brown, won first prize in the nation in the dramatic duo competition and placed 6th nationally in combined individual events. Launched with a good economic base, he plans to enter graduate drama school and to become an actor. Clearly from his first class at St. Mary's, Howard listened, Howard heard, Howard answered, we heard, and Howard conquered. The valedictorian of the class of 1992, Howard Hurd.
Is you ready to go? Because I'm ready to go. I've been, for about a month, I've been trying to figure out what my introduction would be. Couldn't figure it out. And this morning, I heard two young men having a discussion, and one had his kente cloth on, and the other said, well, what is that? I mean, what is that for? And he said, you know, this is my kente cloth. And he said, well, why do you wear that? What makes you so special? And he said, I was born a black man. And I said, that was deep. I couldn't resist the temptation to use that as my introduction. But anyway, as I walked around campus during my senior year, wearing my bright colors, talking to myself, laughing out loud, and just being Howard. People would always approach me and say, "Why do you always wear that stopwatch?" And I would look at them after thinking, "None of your business," and respond, "I have to time my forensic speeches." Well, after giving 5 minutes to deliver my valedictory address, I find this stopwatch especially useful for Kodak moments like these. My era at St. Mary's has been filled with many months of classes, discussions, tons of reading, writing papers, and a few speeches as well. Over the years, I have grown even taller, and I have been able to focus on what I wanted in life. While traveling around the country performing at speech tournaments, I was able to discover my niche. This discovery led me to make one of the most important decisions of my life, the decision to pursue a career in acting. Well, this discovery wasn't a difficult one because it came from within. The challenge came when others questioned me, saying, "Why do you want to be an actor when you know how hard it is to make it in the business?" My response was and still is, why not? Anything in life worth having is going to involve struggle. It is important for us to understand that when it is our time to focus our lives, we are going to experience similar vicissitudes. Graduation is time for us to tick our way into a discussion that will help us evaluate and succeed in whatever we do. I would like to suggest that we take a couple of minutes to evaluate what we want, then how we will reach those goals, and finally, who and what is going to stand in our way in all of this before my time is up. Some hear their life's calling at an early age. Most of us, however, seem to make the decision late in life of what we will make of ourselves. This decision process can be a very painful undertaking, causing us to envision our dreams in pencil so they can easily be erased. My suggestion is, don't dwell on the pain, but on the need to decide. And once the decision is reached, don't allow anyone, friends, family, or acquaintances to deter you from pursuing your goals. Some of them will try to discourage you with painful images of failure. Don't let them. Pain cannot be avoided. The most able among us will endure pain in a quest to excel and distinguish ourselves. Life is painful, whether we withdraw from a pursuit for excellence or fully engage it. Heroes die one death. Cowards die 1,000 times. Take the risk. Now it's time for me to move to my second point, how to reach the goals you set. I recall an incident which occurred when I was about 10 years old, and my Uncle Charles, who's actually sitting right there, wanted me to clean the kitchen floor. And see, I wasn't used to doing housework, and I didn't feel like cleaning the floor, so I sat there and I mopped, but I didn't sweep. So when he came in and he looked down at me, and I looked up at him, very intimidated, and he said, "Boy, if you didn't want to do it, all you had to do was say so. If you're going to do a job, you better do it right or don't do it at all." Well, I thought about what he said, and from that point on, I began to work hard at everything I did. I put 120% effort into projects that could have been done with 20% effort. I became a believer in me, showing up for class, being attentive in class, being on time for classes, meetings, and other gatherings, preparing myself for my day, my year, my decade, and my life. I learned that success is an attitude. It shows in your walk, your talk, your smile, and your attire. When you aspire to greatness, you create a lot of enemies. And I am living proof of this fact. But, as the saying goes, I'd rather you hate me for doing the right thing than love me for doing wrong. In order to beat the clock, I'm going to proceed into a discussion of who and what is going to stop you from reaching your goals. Watch out. I'm about to say something very profound. Ready? In 1992, there still exists sexism, racism, and prejudices of all forms. Being a woman, Native American, Hispanic American, African American, elderly, or differently able are all inherently seen as deterrents to success. But they don't have to stop you. In my mind, these traits are only reasons to work harder to be great. My life has truly been inspired by the words of a well-known motivational speaker by the name of Les Brown. He says, if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you would gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, and lose all terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after this thing with all your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold, poverty, famish, or gall, sickness or pain, or body and brain can keep you away from the thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God, you'll get it. Les Brown is talking about working, continuing to persevere despite obstacles so that you are ready when your time comes. And it will come. Now, it is our time to move on from the sheltered surroundings of St. Mary's College into a world of challenging opportunities. Our time to make difficult choices about our lives. Our time to accept positions of authority and power. Our time to stop the hatred and prejudices that exist. Our time to preserve the earth and our lives. To stop the violence. To create peace on a personal level that will foster global level, that will foster change on a global level, to tear down the brick walls of ignorance and replace them with open doors of understanding and appreciation for our differences. And it is our time to love one another so that the world will be a more comfortable place for our children.
Thank you, Howard Hurd. It is now time for Mayor Kelly to leave. She does have a conference to go to, and I would ask you, as she leaves, to all stand. trustees, Dean of Students, will you now come forward to introduce the president of the class of 1992?
To the President, to the Board of Trustees, to the Honorable Mayor, as she please, to the class of 1992. As you are ready to graduate, many of you are probably thinking similar thoughts and feeling similar emotions as you did when you arrived on campus 4, 5, and as I heard somebody scream, 6 years ago. You sit here with fond memories, you've met many different people, and you've developed some lifelong friends. You came to SMC for an education. You received a wealth of knowledge from various courses such as composition, legacy, philosophical inquiry, and let us not forget that senior seminar course. Many of you did not limit your education to the classroom. You became involved in various campus life activities. In this class, there are many leaders. There's president of the Student Government Association here, the Black Student Union, the WAVE, which is our women's group. There's the Philosophy Club president, concert committee, field hockey, rugby, Young Democrats, you name it. There's a host of resident hall coordinators, campus life assistants, and of course my secret agents. Many of you gave to St. Mary's College community your time and talents, and you've made a valuable contribution to campus life. You take with you an understanding of who you are, your values, your skills, beliefs, abilities, and capabilities, and hopefully you will utilize your education to make a difference in society. Your class president, Danielle, has tried very hard to make this week a memorable week for you. Danielle has been class president since your freshman year. She's an honors student, 3.8 GPA. She's participated in the Pi Sigma Alpha, which is the Political Science Honor Society. She has worked in various areas of St. Mary's College. Danielle is planning to attend graduate school in the History Department, University of Texas. She's received teaching assistance and scholarships. I present to you your class president to the class of 1992, Danielle Toole.
We made it. I believe that within each of us lies a talent unique to our own person. For one, it may be the ability to decipher and manipulate mathematical formula. For another, it may be the fluidity of dance. It may be difficult to discover, but it is there. For many, the great tragedy is that this gift remains hidden. Its dormancy can shadow our lives from the illumination such knowledge can bring. Over the past 4 years, we have all learned that college is more than just classes. It is an ongoing process of learning about oneself, which will undoubtedly continue after we receive our diplomas. Hopefully our years here at St. Mary's, whether by taking a class out of pure interest or participating in an activity or an event on a whim, have shed light on this talent. As we graduate today, we may still be unaware of that light within us, and we may not realize such for a long time. But success is not in the swiftness of discovery, but rather in the achievement. I'd like to add a little phrase from a piece of prose called Desiderata. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. It's what I always thought of to remember. It says, "When all is sham and drudgery and broken dreams, this world is still a beautiful place. Be cheerful and strive to be happy." Thank you very much.
Provost, can we now proceed to the granting of degrees?
Where do they come out? They're going to street and go around this way.
Let the members of the class of 1992 rise.
Right there. Okay, your line.
Mr. President, the class of 1992 stands before you.
Dr. Andy, would you ask the division heads to present the candidates for the bachelor's degree, and I will present a diploma to each student.
Dr. Underwood, head of the Division of Arts and Letters, would you please bring forward your candidates?
Mr. President, on behalf of the Division of Arts and Letters, it gives me great pleasure to present the following candidates to be awarded a diploma in recognition of the successful completion of a course of studies for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Art. Chioma N. An. Melissa Ann Beck, cum laude. Jean Marie Ferrante Burke. Alice Cagliari Dobry. Sandra Christine Ellis. Stacy Susan Humphreys. Ann Wise Loker, cum laude. Lori Ann Manos. James Allen McFadden Jr. Carol Ann Michaud. Elizabeth Ann Muller. Kevin Michael Parker. Kevin Lamar Patrick. Jason Everett Tolbert. For the Bachelor of Arts in Dramatic Arts, Kurt Gerard Heinlein. Kevin Michael Hollenbeck, cum laude, Honors Program Recognition. Vanetta Lynn Moore. Laura Elizabeth Otis. Elizabeth Lee Utz. For the Bachelor of Arts in Language and Literature, Hans David Bailey, with a major in history. Sarah Joan Bowder, cum laude. Remy Joseph Bellinger, magna cum laude. Mary Elizabeth Bernard, cum laude, Honors Program commendation. Garrett Miles Gray. Sarah E. K. Griffin. Ivy Nicole Baumgarten. Danielle Renee Chappelle, magna cum laude. Jason Patrick Billinger, cum laude, Honors Program commendation. Paul George Duffy. Heather Michelle Elder. Gresham Gwendolyn Gaines. Jennifer Beth DeLay, with a dual major in German language and culture. Anne Marie Burley, cum laude. Georgia Bates Jacoby, magna cum laude. Karen Jean Goodman. Mary Kay Candy. Gretchen Lorraine Hines. Jennifer Ann Carson. Michelle Elaine Haver. Heather Gay Heitman. Tina Jewel Jackson, cum laude. Amy Lynn Jenkins. Lynn Martin. Paula Jane Masuk, cum laude. Elizabeth Ann McDonald. Joanne Christine Morton. Sarah Rachel Newman, magna cum laude, honors program distinction. Gloria Jean Kettleway with a dual major in history. Sarah Jane Quaid, cum laude. Lauren Elizabeth Ragle. Robin Lynn Real. Leslie Renee Rourke. Matthew David Sorey. Patricia Carol Shelton. Catherine Marie Smith, magna cum laude, honors program recognition. William Gregory Stay. Holly Dawn Stewart, summa cum laude, honors program distinction. Kimberly Beth Tremmel. Andrew Turner Wainwright. Carolyn Denise Waters, magna cum laude. John Campbell Watson, cum laude. Heather Agnes Werner, magna cum laude. For the Bachelor of Arts in Music, Sylvia Cecilia. With a dual major in economics. Jacqueline Lee Titus, magna cum laude.
I call on Dr. Hampton Davey to bring forward the candidates in history and social science.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Division of History and Social Science, it gives me great pleasure to present the following candidates to be awarded a diploma in recognition of the successful completion of a course of studies for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology Sociology. David Andrew Atchison. Raquel Lynn Broomfield. Jesse Jacob Buck. Raquel Rome Buckins. Laura Francis Carp, cum laude. Timothy Michael Clark. Meredith Elaine Davis. Martina L. Irvin. Patricia Glover, cum laude. Mark D. Green. Jonathan Bruce Houghton. Teresa Ann Judson. Heidi Kalbach. Jonathan Waddell Lindsay. Teresa Michelle Morgan. Kelly Lee O'Brien. Mia Chris Parsons. Jesse James Price. Jennifer Ann Lee. In absentia. Alexander Quinn Roebling. Monica Nicole Rooks with a dual major in economics. Diana Jean Stansbury. Grace Lorraine Valliere. Julianne J. Vance. Julia Hollis Van Oppen. Erin Rebecca Warhorse. Adrian L. Williams. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Mark Christopher Abel. Teresa Kathleen Allman, magna cum laude, honors program commendation. Scott Michael Anderson. David Walton Bailey. Diana Lynn Bauman. Matthew Frederick Beck. Wendy Lynn Beberlinger with a dual major in political science. Karen Elizabeth Binder with a dual major in political science. Jerome Goldbart Leonard Jr. Matthew Kenneth Boudreau. Kim Ernest Brown with a dual major in political science. Peter David Brennan in absentia. Timothy Mark Carroll. Sarah Elizabeth Cole with a dual major in public policy. Daniel Edson Collis. Shannon McGuire Connell. Eric Christopher Cruz. Michelle Therese DeGodney. Ethan T. Doe in absentia. Paul Anthony Dobbin. Kelly J. Downey, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Durchie, cum laude. Scott Allen Dice. Isaac Benjamin Plateau. Carolyn Cecilia Gagaro, cum laude. James Brandon Glover. Jennifer Lynn Harris. Joseph Brian Hayden. Howard Hurd, summa cum laude. Graham Peter Howard. Mary Margaret Jacoby. Michelle Lynn Jones. Brian Paul Lang, summa cum laude. William Sidney Lawrence Jr. Jeffrey Clay Martin. Jennifer Karen Mason. Thomas Butler McMaster. Donald James Miller Jr. William H. Fish Jr. Jeffrey Raymond Morton. Kenneth Scott Nixon. Thomas Augustine Nolan III. David Michael Palucci. Andrew Ford Ford. Brian Anthony Porco. James Kenneth Rayleigh Jr., magna cum laude. Christopher James Redline. Christine Rehrman with a dual major in public policy. Charles Patrick Reardon. Michael Lawrence Robertson Sr. Mark Richard Schrader. John Christian Shaw. Jason Michael Slaughter. David Michael Smith. Stephanie Ann St. Clair. Jonathan L. Steiner. Serena Renee Stevenson with a dual major in anthropology sociology. David Coleman Sturman. Lawrence A. Thomas II. Donald Henry Tremper. Douglas Harold Rossmer II. Erica Lynn Watts. Susan Jane Ricker. Monica Raquel Wheatley, cum laude. Aaron Greenberry Wilson, in absentia. Christopher B. Witzgall. Elaine P. Xenophontis. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in History. Stephen Taylor Balbach. Adrian Bertram Doyle. Bridget Ann Brohan. Diana Louise Campbell. James Clement Kaywood II. Susan Chris cum laude with honors program recognition. Alan Vincent Constantino with a dual major. Adam Leo Cropper. Michelle Lynn Cutler, magna cum laude. Dana Dungara. Melissa Calhoun Engvall, cum laude with honors program recognition. Chaka Rock Freeman. Celeste George, cum laude. William Creighton Jones Jr. Thomas Kenneth Kraft, magna cum laude. Tanya Lynn Kite. Brian Michael Levine. George Andrew Martinez. Linda Marie Nally with the dual major in economics, magna cum laude, with honors program and commendation. Carl Antonio Acapinti Sr. with a dual major in political science, magna cum laude. Karen Kylie Packett with a dual major in language and literature, cum laude. Sarah Dameron Pettit. Anthony E. Raspa. Erica R. Rosenthal, cum laude. James Anthony Sammons. Cynthia Sue Sharpley. Cynthia F. G. Slater. With abstention. Lauren Elaine Spangler. Danielle Eva Troyon with a dual major in political science, magna cum laude, honors program commendation. James Rupert Wheel, magna cum laude, honors program distinction. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Andrea Branch. Joseph Eugene Brienza. Dwayne Lee Klein with a dual major in history, cum laude. Eleanor Vanderpool Davis with a dual major in Nancy Marie Dugan. Michelle Amy Everett. David Daniel Freeman. Thomas Anthony Fiery. Sean Regan Gideon with a dual major in public policy. Joseph Raymond Hamlin. Joseph Raymond Hamlin, in abstention. Sean Patrick Healy with a dual major. Jeffrey William Holland with a dual major in public policy. Michael Clinton Humphreys, in abstention. Craig Wesley Irwin with a dual major in economics, cum laude. Jonathan Francis Irwin with a dual major in economics, magna cum laude. Michael Patrick Jones. Melanie Lynn Judd with a dual major in economics. James Joseph Lamont. William Ferrand Lawrence. Christopher Raymond Lewis. Ashley Long. Michael W. Moore. Dawn Elizabeth Mosier. Marsha Lynn Nelson with a dual major in public policy. John Thomas O'Connor. Brian McNulty O'Hara with a dual major in history. Montego Marcel Parker. Catherine Carlisle Rose. Robert Edward Schubert Jr. in absentia. Patrick John Sears, magna cum laude. John Frank Slade IV. William Lyons Wilcox II. Mark Anthony Zettel with a dual major in public policy. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy, Charlene Marie Cipriano.
I call on Dr. Wesley Jordan to bring forward the candidates in human development.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Division of Human Development, it gives me great pleasure to present the following candidates to be awarded a diploma in recognition of the successful completion of a course in studies with the degree of a Bachelor of Arts in Human Development. Students wearing the gold honor cord from their shoulders have been elected to Psi Chi, the National Honor Society in Psychology, in recognition of the excellence of their academic works. Karen Renee Blankenship, cum laude. Patty Jo Bruner. Kimberly Dawn Kalane. Catherine Grace Caulfield. Laura Jane Coughlin. Michelle Lee Dean. Nancy Ellis Gillespie in abstention. Jacqueline Elizabeth Green. Faye J. Harris in abstention. Barbara Kennedy Hill. Tracy Jo Howell. Susan Elaine Jamerson. Kelly Kuntz. Peggy Ann Lloyd. Elizabeth Ann Marks. Robert Andrew Pike. Mary Ellis Roman. Jennifer Deanne Strong. For Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, Sarah Ann Azarud, magna cum laude, honors program commendation. Thomas William Kern. Matthew Preston Perry. Karen Allison Storms, magna cum laude. David Eric Thompson. Patrick Ture Vargas with the dual major in psychology. Richard Cabot Young Jr. with the dual major in language and literature. For the Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, and again, students wearing the gold honor cord have been elected to Psi Chi. Suzanne Jeans Alexander. Holly Shelton Bamber, cum laude. Cynthia Joseph Ben. Joshua Marcus Belcher. Mark Bowden. Anna Esther Brown, summa cum laude in absentia. Victory Marie Burrick.
Clayton. Michelle Lynn Dent. James Norman Dickerson. Kelly Anita Petty cum laude. Irma Nina Corsolis. Billy Jolene Graves. Kelly Mayer Hall, summa cum laude. Cynthia Marie Health, magna cum laude, honors program distinction. Kara Elise Kurgan. Beta Jean Jackson, summa cum laude. Karen Denise Jarbo. Tanya Kaushik, cum laude. Suzanne Teresa Kirk, magna cum laude. Nicole Adrian Lewis, magna cum laude. Jennifer Janelle Logan. Rabia Malik. Donna Claire McAllister. Elizabeth McQuaid, honors program recognition. Patrick Anthony Miles. Tracy Ann Rizzuto, magna cum laude. Deborah Ann Nichols. Stacy Lee Palmer with a dual major in anthropology sociology. Patrick Thomas Parrish. Laura Ellen Ford. Gerald Arthur Rainville III. Diane Audrey Reese. Alice Lorraine Robinson with a dual major in dramatic arts. William Keith Rodriguez III. Tracy Ann Sable. John T. Sensenbrenner. Susan Elizabeth Sheffley. Faith Elizabeth Storms, cum laude. Candace Therese Sunstrom. Kirsten Lynn Travick, magna cum laude. Jessica Uffner. Kristen Barbara Bocek. Jason Lee Walker. David Schlager Ward. Tracy Ann Warnkessel. Georgia Michelle Weeks, cum laude. Jamie Lynn Werner. Jennifer Crystal Roby, magna cum laude. Finally, on behalf of the college, it also gives me great pleasure to recognize the following persons who have successfully completed one of our teacher education programs and are thereby eligible to apply for Maryland teacher certification in their area of specialization. I would ask those teacher education students who are present to stand in place as their names are called. Mary C. Bauer in biology. Patty Jo Bruner in early childhood education. Abby E. Combs, class of 91 in early childhood education. Margaret Simmons Fostel, class of 91 in early childhood education. Catherine J. Garner in early childhood education. Kelly M. Hall in early childhood education. Lara Kane Johnson, class of 91 in early childhood education. Sarah Jane Moore, class of 91 in early childhood education. Peggy Anna Lloyd in early childhood education. Kathleen McMaster, class of 91 in early childhood education. Robert Susan Milton, class of 91 in biology. Carl Leacapinti in social studies. Kathleen Mary Ruck, class of 91 in early childhood education. And Jacqueline L. Titus in music. Let's give these students a round of applause.
Dr. Robert Paul to present the candidates in natural science and mathematics.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Division of Natural Science and Mathematics, it gives me great pleasure to present the following candidates to be awarded a diploma in recognition of the successful completion of a course of studies for the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Biology. I should note at this point that those biology graduates who wear the red and green honor cords are the charter initiates of the Biology Honor Society Beta Beta Beta. Mary Catherine Bauer, cum laude. Susan Elizabeth Campbell. Janice Ellen Cantor. Cynthia L. Cooksey. Matthew Christopher Davis. David K. Yansky. Paul Veruska Dinino. Thomas Mark Haas. Anne Marie Hartzig. Simone Hoskin. Andy Van Howell. Mark Howells. Yi Jiang. Jennifer Lynn Klein, magna cum laude, honors program commendation. Carolyn Kristen Corbett. Kevin Daniel Lease, cum laude, honors program commendation. Kelly Ann Lyon. Laura Virginia Magic. Esther Selena Rue McCoskey, magna cum laude, honors program commendation. Marcy Elizabeth Miller, magna cum laude. Susan Elizabeth Morton. Jeanette Nicole Hales. Jennifer Mary O'Connor, magna cum laude. Melissa Dawn Priest, cum laude. Ranger Lionel Rideout. Kelly Sean Briscoe. Jonathan Mark Sanford. Vera Siskovich, cum laude. Joshua Hannon Sloan. Amy Elizabeth Smith. Jeffrey Paul Smith, Jr. James William Spencer, Jr. John Andrew Starmer with a dual degree in art. Christopher John Stevenson. Paul Edward Strunk. Susan Melissa Wheeler. Nina Elizabeth Woodgate. For the Bachelor of Arts degree in Chemistry, Stephen Barton Eller. Michael Chapman Granger. Kevin Edward Gunday, magna cum laude, honors program commendation. Jennifer Jo Harris. Danielle Marie Romer. For Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics, Stacy Elizabeth Butler. Paul Renee Pinnock. Elizabeth Lynn Andrew. Jennifer Lynn Johnson. Elizabeth Ann Thornton. Lisa Marie McDonald. Suzanne Michelle Autun with an independently designed dual major in logic and learning, magna cum laude. Denise Catherine Ralston. Edward Ralston III.
Aaron S. Rohrer. Finally, for the Bachelor of Arts degree in Natural Science, the first three graduates are technically the college's first physics graduates. Samuel Amatsu, Paul Thomas Mikulski, the dual major philosophy, summa cum laude, and honors program distinction. Jennifer Lazaro Poulos, cum laude honors program candidate. Keith Lawrence Richmond. Will the valedictorian, the student trustee, Holly Stewart, and the president of the class of 1992 please now advance to the podium. Will the ushers proceed to pass out the small bottles? While the bottles are being passed, a few remarks about this class. The class of 1992 is by far the largest ever to graduate from the college. 357 by number, roughly 52,500 pounds in weight, and surely the largest class in spirit as well. Because of the large size, this class is often referred to by the faculty as the lump passing through the snake, but we won't dwell on that image because it hardly lends dignity to this occasion. As you are at the very cusp of receiving your degrees, on behalf especially of the faculty and of the whole college, I would like to say to the class of 1992, we hope that we have helped you to gain the knowledge, the skills, the sensitivities, and the convictions that will start you on the road to an extremely fulfilling life. We hope and expect that this life will be marked by dedication to making this world a more just and loving set of communities living in an environmentally sustainable habitat. That is a large challenge. We wish you well. Congratulations to the class of 1992.
Graduates, please move their tassels from the right to the left. I want to propose a toast to the class of 92. As I said at another toast a few days back, you are a special class. You have been more involved and you have participated in more activities than most graduating classes that pass through this institution. And that means you've given back as much as you have taken from this institution. So we're going to miss you. We hope you come back, and we hope you come back often. And on behalf of the faculty and the trustees and all of us here, happiness and fulfillment. Please remain in place and standing. And if I could have your attention for a brief minute, the script is slightly out of whack at this point. By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees and under the instruction of the faculty, I am pleased to admit you to the degree of Bachelor of Arts with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto. I want to thank all the families and friends of the graduates for witnessing the largest graduation class in the history of the college. The ceremony is ended, and the graduates will now receive the congratulations of their faculty as the faculty files out towards the green and towards the DP conference. Thank you.